I'm Laura Bonnell, and this is the Living with Cystic Fibrosis podcast coming to you from Detroit. Please subscribe and even rate and comment on our podcasts when it moves you. I learn something new with every podcast, and I'm always inspired by the people that are showcased here. We don't give medical advice. You need to connect with your doctor for that. I hope that this Living with Cystic Fibrosis podcast educates you and sparks some volunteering or advocacy. The CF community needs people like you. Thanks to our sponsors, Viatris and Vertex, for their support. Diagnosed with cystic fibrosis at the age of 50, Sheri Boyd brings a rare and powerful perspective to the CF community, one that was shaped by not being diagnosed, like I said, for about 50 years, which is difficult. Can you imagine not having a diagnosis to all your symptoms for that long? So that was difficult. Sheri met Shawn, and they had an incredible journey about finding each other on, I believe it was Instagram. Sheri's going to tell us the story, but Shawn has cystic fibrosis, and so this journey was one of education and love and coming together in the same state after they found each other, and his lung transplantation. And we talk about so many things that is impacted by cystic fibrosis in relation to family. And Sheri is a storyteller, a business owner, and she has a really great history of when she was in the music industry, which she is also going to share with us. So she has persevered. She says that she has a purpose, and she continues to choose hope, and we are so glad. Sheri, this is fantastic. We get to learn and talk about so many things. Thanks for joining us on this podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me, Laura. I'm looking forward to it.
So it's great to have you on the podcast. I'm excited to get into your CF journey that started late because you were diagnosed in your 50s. And how was that to have a late diagnosis, going your whole life with symptoms and health issues and not knowing what was going on?
It was an answer. It was a life of clues without an answer. So in a way, it was a great relief to know that I wasn't a hypochondriac. And it gave us a direction to go for healthcare.
That is wonderful, because I think they say on average it's about 7 years that you don't have a diagnosis, and yours was 50. That's a long time. 50 plus. That's a long time to go without the correct medications, and that's a very long time.
It was a road of adult onset asthma, kidney disease, liver disease, GI, pancreas, severe pancreas, chronic issues. Yeah.
What was the reason for the delay in diagnosis?
I think one of the big reasons for delay was just that a lot of it was generational, and I also have rare genes. Not only that, but I lived in South Florida, which at the time, Southwest Florida did not have the greatest of healthcare. So with all those factors compiled in, it was a perfect storm of misdiagnosis.
You're young, considering it would be different if you were in your 70s or something, or 80s, because that was so long ago, before enzymes and things like that. And it has progressed so fast in everything that's happened with cystic fibrosis. How was that diagnosis? Because you're not getting diagnosed as a newborn, where this is really your parents handling it. This is you handling it as an adult. I mean, what was going on all those years when you didn't have a diagnosis?
I was sick, although there was no formal diagnosis. Through the years, I I came to terms with this is just how life is. I knew I had chronic pancreatitis, which I don't know how early it started. We know it was diagnosed when I was pregnant with let me think about this, my first son. Is when we first caught it. And it got so horrible at that time that I almost died. I got sepsis and my organs started shutting down. And it was a really miserable situation. I had a newborn at the time. And again, we had no idea that I had CF. So it was just, why on earth at 20 years old do you have chronic pancreatitis? Adult onset asthma, croup as a child, um,
Wow.
tummy aches, screaming CF, honestly, just undiagnosed, missed.
Right. And just how frustrating that must have been for you and your parents because you see your child in pain or you're in pain and you can't explain it, fix it, diagnose it, just to keep brave and carry on kind of thing.
I never knew any different as a thing. So I didn't know that tummy aches weren't normal. Like I remember saying, mommy, I have a tummy ache. I want to stay home. I don't feel good. And, back in the day, it was, are you bleeding from your eyes? Then you're going to school. Because we didn't know there was anything wrong. I have vivid recollections of waking up and my dad wrapping me in a blanket and taking me into the steam shower.
Wow.
So things like that. And I started having surgeries for the chronic pancreatitis, meaning ERCP as well as sphincterotomy. And they still didn't really catch it. It wasn't until I think COVID. I think I actually might have gotten COVID before COVID was even vogue. So it's hip to be square. So I think I actually got COVID and I got really sick. And I was 50 years old and I got pseudomonas. And I had a great primary caregiver in Naples, really, really fantastic. And she said, I know you're half Jewish. Have you ever been tested for CF? And I said, well, no. She says, nobody in your family has CF. No, no, I don't have CF. And she goes, I think I want to send you somewhere. So I, went to University of Florida, saw my pancreas specialist there and proceeded to go to pulmonology. And doctor, I think his name was Chang there. I'm sorry if I've misquoted his name. He was really, really amazing as well. And he sent me for sweat testing right away. Um, and it came back moderate to high, somewhere in the
Wow.
high, 30s to mid 30s. And then I had one gene come back at that time. And honestly, I couldn't even tell you. Look on my Instagram account if you would see it. It's got a greater than and a capital G and so on and so forth. So at that time, they had found the one gene and it wasn't discovered until 1987. And I think I was perhaps the ninth person in the world that had been logged with having this gene. And now it's numerous. It's nothing special. It's still considered a rare gene. And then when I came to National Jewish, this is coming from University of Florida, Dr. Saavedra did further genetic testing and something else came back, but it was kind of pointing the finger that, yeah, there may be something, not really sure. Still inconclusive. We know I'm screaming CF. We know I had one rare gene, but a second inconclusive. Well, I just got out of the hospital after a recent pancreas excursion, a 3-hour tour. And
Wow.
uh, I went to see Dr. Saavedra, and she says, "You're not going to believe this." I said, "What? What?" She said, "I put in your genes, and it came back as you now qualify for a lift trick." And she said, "I even called Kathy in, who is the coordinator, and Kathy tried it. And again, it came up that I was qualified for a lift trick. So I am waiting, ready to receive my blessing any day now. And
Wow.
hopefully it will clear up a lot of the issues that have been plaguing me.
I mean, what a journey, what a long journey to diagnosis from not understanding what's going on to now waiting for a CF modulator to take that and it will correct the underlying condition of cystic fibrosis. That must be such a weird feeling. Well, tell me what it's like just waiting for this pending drug. I mean, what are your hopes? What are your thoughts on this?
Me being diagnosed with cystic fibrosis is so new to me still, Laura. I mean, when the diagnosis came, it was kind of like, okay, this is the missing piece to the puzzle. It all makes sense. Doesn't really mean anything. It just means that I can, get on a regime, take some medicine, see a great healthcare team, and keep living life. But it doesn't really work like that, especially as we start aging. Um,
How long have you been diagnosed now? How long have you had?
6 years.
So it is 6 years. Still, that's like being a 6-year-old. I always equate it
It
to when you're a baby because it's such a long
Yes.
time to understand the disease, to understand acronyms and to pronounce things and to understand bacterial infections and language, right? The whole language.
It's so true, and, you asked me how I felt, and it's so strange for me because most days I think, "Cystic fibrosis? They made a mistake. I don't have cystic fibrosis." And a lot of days are like that for me until it smacks me in the face, and then it gets real, and then when I feel better, I don't believe it anymore again. I wasn't raised with taking enzymes and doing all these things. So it's like you said, it's like a 6-year-old. Just as excited as I am to receive this gift, this blessing, I'm still like, do I don't need that. So it's really strange. And I think that's where my husband comes into play. Shawn also has cystic fibrosis. And I met Shawn early on, right after I got diagnosed at 50 years old. And we met on social media. I was looking for connection to learn more about cystic fibrosis. And I learned quickly that it's a very tight knit, beautiful community of people that have just lived and gone through so much and are just so willing to share. And I'm blessed to be a part of it.
And let me ask you this before we talk about the wonderful Shawn. So,
The amazing.
and this is, you don't have to answer this, but I wondered if your diagnosis or anything related to it, it may not have had anything to do with the divorce of your first husband, but you probably weren't diagnosed yet, but you were having a lot of medical issues. So, do
Yeah.
you feel like that played a part?
I think it definitely did. I mean, how can it not? Um, we were each plagued with our own disease. And when you bring those two diseases together, it's not a good recipe. And it was just it was a long relationship. It was, gosh, 15, 20 years.
And how many kids?
Well, we shared none together.
Okay.
We shared none together. but I was blessed enough to have two little girls that I was mothering through the years. I think I
Nice.
started mothering them when they were, oh my goodness, 5 and maybe 7 years old. And
Beautiful.
yeah, they're successful nurses now, and I'm so very proud of them. Unfortunately, through divorce, a lot of times children are the casualties. And maybe someday there'll be a chance for reconciliation with those two girls. But I understand, I completely understand.
You have been through so much and have learned so much and are still the sunshiniest,
Oh, no,
most wonderful. Yes, you are.
not all the time.
Well, who is all the time? I mean, most people are not. We have our down times. So carry on with how this diagnosis changed you, and then we'll get into when you met Shawn.
The diagnosis, I think, made a lot of sense, but it also changed the way I lived, surrounding myself with people that were well, trying to ensure that I wasn't jeopardizing myself. Because at that time, I was still getting over the pseudomonas, and COVID was hitting. I also worked in a church atmosphere. So that's a whole nother dimension of discussion and blogging about the workplace, uh, houses of worship, and how we think of illness and treat it within those places.
And when you say that, are you saying it was positive, negative?
I've been in several places, and as much as the workforce within those establishments try and they think they understand and they think they're doing right by you, uh they don't. And I don't think it's done directly, intentionally necessarily, but it happens. And those places are really, really difficult for those of us with chronic illness to go into and feel safe and know that we're not sitting by somebody that knowingly has COVID and came anyways without wearing a mask.
Very challenging, and I'm sure it's different in different places, but it is important because, at that time, as we all know, it was hard for people. There were sides taken and things like that, and it wasn't really maybe what was best for the entire community. That was a very hard time on so many levels, and I'm
It
glad you made it through.
I
Yeah.
think it's still that way, Laura. I think it's still when you wear a mask somewhere, I would say 50% of people probably look and kind of give a funny look. And it's you just getting that politicizing of mask wearing. And I just wish we as human beings could just love one another enough to put on a mask. It doesn't mean you're taking sides. It just means you're caring for your neighbor, which is what we're supposed to do. And
Right.
that's pretty much all I have to say about mask wearing. It's nothing political for us as much as even with our, own family and social circles, it can be very difficult. And I just wish we could all take the politics out of being medically safe.
Absolutely. And there's so much to learn from the CF community on how it worked and
Yeah.
was so successful for and what we've learned about the 6 feet apart and all of that. But let's get back to you and Shawn. Um,
My
so
favorite.
yay. You met on social media, which you
We
were starting to
did.
tell us, and tell
Yeah.
us how that journey was.
Well, we met on Instagram, Instalove. Sean and I had both come out of some bad relationships, and we were on the mend, doing well. Sean's health was not good, however. He was disabled. He was not listed as of yet, but in the process of getting listed. His lung function, I think, was down to 18, 19%. And we had become friends. You like something and they respond back, and we are 1 year apart in age exactly. And we just hit it off. It's rare that the CF community is aging, but it was nice to find somebody that we had things in common. Growing up, I spent a lot of time here in Colorado, snow skied out here. My family had my extended family had a business, a company ranch out in Steamboat. So we were spent a lot of time here. So Colorado was my second home, and we met. And we started FaceTiming, and that was the demise, Laura. That was once we had that connection over the phone, that was it. I don't think we ever hung up in in 3 months. I think we were on that FaceTime call consistently, except for the times where you have to, turn it the other way for a minute. But we fell deeply into friendship. I was not willing to fall in love with a dying man. I had just come out of the marriage and had been brokenhearted, lost children and, my stepchildren. And it was just a really difficult season for me. Shawn got listed very, very quickly. He worked hard. He worked out every day. He was in fantastic shape. Uh, and he got the call. He got the call within, I think it was 3 weeks.
Fast. That's,
Fast.
yeah.
And they contacted me on the way to the hospital, said they
His
had gotten
family.
his,
Right.
well, Shawn called me and said he had gotten the call, and went to the hospital, found out the lungs were in great shape, a perfect match. So now he's telling his brother and family that knows nothing about me about this woman. And, you have to keep her posted, and I want you to call her. And his poor brother's probably going, who is this person,
Right.
And the evening progressed. They drew the clamshell on his chest. He was getting ready to go. They knew everything was all set. And he called me to say goodbye, that he's on his way. And I told him I loved him. And he got the biggest, just, I can't even describe the look on his face. And he said, "What? I love you too." And he'll have to tell you the rest of the story of going back and just how he felt. And he was in Florida he was in the hospital 10 days, was on a plane to see me within 2 months.
Incredible. I mean, it is a made for television sort of movie, a little bit. I mean, it is very romantic, and thank God, he's doing great and he did great then.
Laura, every day it's something new, it seems. It's different aches and pains, and one of us, it's always something. I went to go to the grocery store today, and I was afraid I was going to have I don't have a monitor in right now. Shame on me. And I went out to the grocery store, started getting that yucky feeling, but I thought I could squeeze it in before the podcast. We have to go, go, go.
Are you talking about diabetes?
Yes, the CFTR,
Yeah.
which I do not have CFTR yet, but it's there and it's not bad enough to proceed with insulin. I can detect it, watch it, and control it with eating protein or staying away from sugar with diet. So, yeah, I turned around and I came home because I was just getting that yucky feeling. I didn't have my glucose pills with me, and I turned around and came home. And life is filled with those moments. Shawn battles skin cancer now since transplant. Yeah, which is so common.
And if people don't know, it's more common with transplanted people. There's such a risk, yeah.
He's had melanoma. Now he has one, maybe two other types. We're not sure yet. We're getting ready to go on a hospital vacay in Denver for the next few days. So I have some testing scheduled, and he's seeing the cancer specialist and getting his surgery scheduled to remove whatever is going on with him. It's always something, it's rejection and EBV virus that can turn into lymphoma and uh calcium's too high, potassium's too low. It's a lot. It's
There's a
always.
lot of variables. And I wonder too, as good as you two are about this, do you feel any judgment for being with someone who has CF? Because it's not, I mean, I've done a podcast with other people who are also married and have CF, but it isn't as common. So I just wondered if you had any, if either the clinic people said, oh, it might not be a good idea, or if it was embraced. Maybe it's been completely embraced by everyone
Yeah.
and there's no worries, which is lovely.
We have not ever met anyone that has said anything other than been supportive and positive towards us. Right from the start, we asked permission pretty much from the clinic, from his transplant team. He sat down and I was on the video, as I always was, and we talked to them about it. And Shawn's never grown any other bacterias, funguses other than the Pseudomonas, same as myself. So that's a positive thing. And they said, we gave you new lungs to live. If you're in love and this is it, you take precautions and you live life. And Shawn and I take a lot of precautions. I take even more precautions probably because I'm with him than I would than if I were by myself. We do go out to dinner occasionally. Well, we used to. When we do, we go at an off time, say 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We'll sit preferably in a section and we'll kindly explain and ask. And normally restaurants are very, very obliged to assist and make sure that we feel safe.
Well, I'm so glad that you're both doing well. I mean, it is wonderful. I think also people have learned so much, right, about cross-contamination
Yeah.
and about taking care of yourself. So it probably isn't even as big of an issue as it used to be because
No.
there's so many more drugs and we've learned so much now.
Even from appointment to appointment, the things that are happening with medications and options, it, it is incredible what has happened since I've been diagnosed over the last 6 years.
It's going fast.
Yeah.
I mean, I think even since my daughters were diagnosed 31 years ago, what a change. I mean, before my daughters were diagnosed, their enzymes weren't even capsulated. Thankfully, when they were born, they were. That would have been, some work, but we have come so far in CF.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great to see all these little babies growing up, and I follow so many of them on social media, and these mothers are so brave and strong. And the things that people look at and they say, I don't think I could handle that. What would I do if I had, 3 children or 2 daughters with CF? Um, but you do it. And it is amazing the strength and the courage that you find when that's what's ahead of you.
And that's what I was gonna ask you. How has it changed your perspective on life? Has it been like, uh, you feel like you either appreciate life more? I don't know. How has it been mentally for you since you got the diagnosis?
Again, just like getting the diagnosis and saying, no, I don't have CF some days, and yes, I do have CF some days. It's kind of like that. Yeah, I think there's two sides to every coin with me. And I think there's an emotional side to both. Again, same scenario.
That is interesting. And I also want to talk about you and how creative you are and all the things that you're doing. Tell us about the SNS Rocks Life. I was looking at pictures of some of the things that you did, very cute. So, what inspired you and Shawn to create this business? And tell everyone what it is.
Okay, SNS Rocks Life is just Sheri and Shawn, Sheri unemployed, trying to kill some time. That's
And
how it
she's looking for a job if anyone
Yeah,
has anything available.
Sheri became unemployed about 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. And that was a difficult time just in any market, I think, to become unemployed. And then I had time on my hands, and decided, I have all these things to say. I've been wanting to write for a long time. So I started to blog. From the blog, it went on to uh, listing some of my paintings on there. Today, you'll see some merchandise that I have graphically created that is now ready to be sold. We've also included that we'd like to give a 30% donation through each purchase to either the Bonnell Foundation or the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. There'll be some jewelry coming soon,
Oh,
handcrafted
fun.
latex
Well,
paint pour jewelry. There's nutrition. We put nutrition. Shawn and I have a multitude of issues from pancreas to liver to kidneys. Some days we need high protein, other days we need high fat, low sugar. So you'll find the nutrition list with recipes growing on there also, depending on what our needs are that day. So yeah, we're looking forward to advocating, donating, becoming a voice, and who knows what the future holds for that. I'd like to get my feet into the nonprofit world. I'd like to stay there in the nonprofit world, but I'd really like to drift more into the cystic fibrosis community nonprofit world. I am going to be writing a piece for the cystic fibrosis community voice, so I'm excited about that. And that again has to do with CF in the workplace and how all of that panned out and where I am now and where I was then and the impact of job loss, etc. So you have to wait to read that one. I don't want to give it away.
well, you have a lot to say. You'll have great advice and get people talking, I am sure. And I also want you to talk about because, like I told you before when we were just talking, that your life story is so interesting and you have a music history, a connection, and
I
it's
do.
sounds like it shaped who you are today. So tell us about what that period in your life was and what your job was. I don't know how many years ago it was.
It was back, I think, in 2016, 17, 18. My daughter, who is now 20, oh, I'm so embarrassed. I think Julia is 25 or 26. I'm so old, Laura. I've lost track of how old I have three biological children, and they're all old enough for me to lose track of their age, including my own age.
It could be a beautiful thing, yes, but you're not old. But yeah, go ahead.
My daughter was a musician early on. At 12 years old, she started playing in a band called Official Outcome, and they became the little local, legends, played all the bars and pubs and events and etc. So through that, she got picked up on a publishing deal with the Mix Factory and Talent Ventures Studios, Paul Easton, who his dad was Eric Easton, who managed the Rolling Stones and had part in many other bands of that era. And Paul took Julia under his wing, and she ended up getting overseas record publishing deal with Contour Records, and she had a couple hits overseas. That's here nor there. But that is how I got into the business. I joined Paul's team as a co-manager and an agent, booking agent, talent scout for Talent Ventures. And I was able to co-manage my daughter. Um, we managed people, the Baja Men. Paul still has the Baja Men. I had some multiple wedding bands. We worked with Tony Stevens, Brian Howe of Bad Company. I got to make and produce one of his last videos actually before he died, and I got to do a promo video for him also. So it's very colorful,
Yeah, a lot of different things you've done.
but it's really strategically placed me in life for everything that I'm hoping to do at this point. I've, developed the SNS Rocks Life website, the blog, the merchandise. I'm, hoping to be a financial asset to our community in some form or fashion. And I'm hoping for good things. I love content creation. I love project management. We are crafted to work, Laura. We are crafted human beings to work. And I'm looking forward to see what the new season brings me.
It's gonna go great. And I wonder, speaking of, like, what do you hope and see as the future for you and Shawn and the CF community? Maybe what's your biggest hope, as it stands today?
For a cure, an absolute cure. I think that's the realistic hope for the near future. The way things are progressing so quickly, I think it's going to happen.
It's exciting, and I sure hope you're right. I hope it does happen and that it would be a cure for everyone. I think science is doing,
Yeah,
some wonderful things. It is amazing. So everybody, yeah, support science. It's so important, right?
it is.
Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about your journey? I know I wanted to ask you, what did your parents think? What was their reaction when you were diagnosed?
My father was killed in a plane crash when I was 15 years old. So there was no response from him, but my
Of
mother,
course not.
yeah,
That's very tragic. I'm so sorry.
that's okay. My mother at the time was in an assisted living facility in Florida. And I shielded her as much as I could at first until I had it took a few months to get all the testing done and the sweat testing followed by the genetic testing. And I was traveling to and from Naples, Florida to Gainesville, which was my CF clinic, University of Florida. So there was a lot of traveling and it was a big whirlwind. Again, that goes back to just CF in general and the things people do not understand about living with something like cystic fibrosis and the work environment and the need to care for yourself and go on overnight travels. And it's a lot. It's a lot. And something I'd like to address, Laura, is, to my understanding, as far as becoming disabled with social security, you must have 2 hospitalizations with lung exacerbations within a 1-year period. That needs to be readdressed. Somebody like myself, my lung symptoms only appear when I have a virus or I'm sick or something else is going on in my body. Other than that, mine is digestive, mine is joint, mine is everywhere else, the invisible that you cannot see. And it makes it really difficult. When I lost my job, I decided that I'm not taking care of myself. I just wound up in the hospital for 4 days. I cannot go into the workforce anymore. I've got to work remotely. And it's been an uphill battle. And I think that that whole system just needs to be looked at. I'm sure that's a whole nother podcast.
Well, and it is just another reason to advocate. You can
Yes.
advocate for yourself and for others. And thankfully, people can work remotely now. It's
Yes.
obviously just finding the job. But I also wanted to find out, what do your kids think? What have you taught them, and how did they respond to cystic fibrosis?
One of them has been sweat tested. The other 2 have some pancreas issues. I have a son that has superior mesenteric artery disease, SMA syndrome. He also has nutcracker syndrome. Uh, so is it related? Are they carriers? I wish I knew, but they have not been tested and they choose not to be at this point in their life. And
Gotcha.
yeah, I think it was a lot for them and it still is a lot for them. They're in Florida. I'm in Colorado now with Shawn. And we've always all been very close. So it's a lot for them still to know that I'm in the hospital, getting text messages and updates instead of me being in the same city with them. So I'm
Right.
sure it's difficult on them, but we stay upbeat and let's not forget that a lift truck is on its way and I'm not going anywhere anytime soon.
Fantastic. Well, I'm excited about all you're doing and the opportunity that's sure to be coming your way. I really am glad this podcast flew by. So thank you for taking the time to talk with me. There's so much more we can talk about, but your information is in show notes so people can see where you are and follow you. And I appreciate your honesty and enthusiasm for everything CF and just life in general. Thanks for sharing it with us.
Oh, thanks, Laura. It's been a pleasure. And thank you for all you do. What a voice you are. And your bio, I'd like to host a podcast with you and ask you the questions.
I would love that. That would be fun.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you. The original music in this podcast is performed by Kevin Allen.
It's not complicated.
Who happens to have cystic fibrosis.
We all got our worries and fears. I know it's got you frustrated. but loving you is so alright.
This has been the Living with Cystic Fibrosis podcast. For more information and to learn more about the Bonnell Foundation, visit our website at thebonnellfoundation.org. That's the BONNELL Foundation.org. This podcast was sponsored by Vertex Pharmaceutical, The Science of Possibility, and Victories. It was produced by Jag and Detroit Podcasts. Follow our show in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening right now.